What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? I'm the Godless Engineer, and I critically analyze apologist claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. Today's video is from the line. We're going to be hearing from a caller that's decided to call in and try to prove either God to us or some other kind of crazy idea. So, if you want to fuck around and find out how crazy this call gets, then please stay tuned.
This is JP, pronoun she, her, from the United States. She's a theist, and her perspective is like polar opposite of Annie's. She says Jesus will love the LGBTQ community. Prove me otherwise. Jesus is about love. And then her additional information is that she's from the South, and she is a Unitarian Universalist. So I'm going to let JP in here. Our atheist callers, I hope you'll stick around. JP, you're on Skep Talk. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your question.
Yeah, so I'm a Unitarian Universalist, and I think Jesus loves everyone. And I think that if you think Jesus is a bigot, then you're basically ceding the Bible to conservatives, and I don't think you should do that.
I guess I'll speak first on this. I mean, I was kind of leading up to this call with what I was just saying to John. I'm no biblical scholar. I don't know the details about, what Christ says versus what the Old Testament says, outside of the fact that Christ seems to be a lot more chill. I'm sympathetic to people who are like, Christ wasn't for all of that Old Testament stuff, but I also don't know enough about the subject to take a stance one way or another. So I think this is going to be a call that you mostly have with John. And what I'll say is that I appreciate the stance that you take, whether or not it's like hermeneutically sound or whatever. I guess it's Koine Greek, so it's a little bit different, but like whether or not it's literarily sound, I'm glad there are Christians like you out there. And I really hope that you influence the people in your life to being as kind as you evidently are. So I'm going to boot it over to John here.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I want to echo what Erica just said. Like, I feel like there definitely needs to be more. There need to be more Christians that have this kind of, I guess, interpretation of the biblical text and of the character Jesus himself. I know how powerful Jesus' opinion is in this respect. I mean, I obviously don't care what Jesus said. I feel like I don't have to look to, an ancient story like the Gospels and derive, my moral foundations from it or anything like that. Not to be derogatory towards your position or anything. I'm just saying that I don't feel the need, to look at those things and do that. But as far as like Jesus loving the LGBTQ community, from a historical aspect, assuming I'm gonna anybody that knows me knows that I'm a mythicist, but in this particular respect, I'm gonna assume that there was an itinerant preacher named Jesus.
No, are you really? That's a ridiculous position.
Yeah. Okay, well, not the fucking point right now. Yeah, I have had a conversation with Bart Ehrman. You should go to my channel on Godless Engineer and see my conversation with Bart Ehrman, and you'll see it. I have had a conversation.
He probably spanked you.
Let's not make this call. Hold on. No, well, okay. For one, he didn't. It was a conversation that we had, so he didn't spank me. It was a fucking conversation. Number two, this call is about.
Where JP, I'm so sorry. I want to hear what you have to say, but I want to make sure that my co-host here gets out what he wants to say as well. I've muted you here for a second, JP. I'm sure John will be cool once he says what he's going to say. I'll let you say what you want to say, and it'll all be good. John, go ahead.
My entire point wasn't to bring up mythicism unnecessarily or anything. I'm just saying that a lot of people know that I am, so to preface what I'm about to say, I'm assuming that Jesus was an itinerant preacher and that Christianity is a religion that's based off of whatever in the fuck he may have done in history. Considering that Jesus was a first century Jewish itinerant preacher, it kind of seems like he wouldn't have had that very favorable of a view, not only on the LGBTQ people in general, just because of the sentiments at about that time, but also because of the fact that Jews at that time, even Jewish Christians and even later Christians, didn't really have that great a view of women. Now, were Christians maybe a little bit better as far as women go? Maybe in some respects, but I feel like you definitely have to look at the complete context of women, like in the Bible, even in the New Testament. And there's still sentiments, after Jesus's time of Christians invoking Jesus's name. Like, for instance, it's a forged letter. I believe it's either 1 Timothy or 2 Timothy, where somebody forged Paul telling women to shut the fuck up and sit the fuck down, and to not teach men and all this other stuff. So it's very obvious that there was this tiered system of people, and that Jesus most likely wouldn't have liked people outside of the heteronormative, sort of group of people. Like, and if you didn't fit that mold, then more than likely you would have been persecuted in some kind of way, at least in the first century, by Jews. So, I mean, that's actually one of the striking characteristics of, like, not only Judaism, but also the kind of Jew and the Jewish Christians, for early Jewish Christians, is that, they were very, misogynistic in nature. They also were very scared of sex, and they were scared of same-sex kind of stuff. And I guess that's all that I got to say about it. I think that if we look at Jesus in a more historical context instead of the more mythological character in the Gospels, I think that Jesus probably wouldn't have liked LGBTQ individuals, but I totally support your interpretation of Jesus loving the LGBTQ community. Even if I feel like it's, I'll stop right there. I won't continue with that.
All right, JP, I'm going to unmute you here and take some time, give your perspective. I'm sorry for muting. I'm trying to keep things organized and good to go. You got the floor.
Okay. Well, I really can't get past the point where the engineer guy said that he thinks Jesus is a myth, because that's fucking ridiculous. So
okay, can you please go back? No, go back. What did I preface my entire fucking spiel? Okay, what did I preface it with?
I wasn't listening because you said Jesus was a myth.
Oh, okay. So my entire monologue there, you just totally fucking noped out, and you just didn't listen. Okay, I get. There's no point in me talking to this.
It was a monologue. It was boring as fuck.
So JP, if I may, right? Like, I'll speak sort of here. I'm a bridge builder. I'm not a. Am I? I'm not. But I'm also kind of taking the perspective where, like, I don't know. Well, I don't know I wish I could sit here and have like a cogent conversation with either of you about the topic, but I'm simply uneducated in it, and I would be floundering around. You guys would be throwing sources at each other, and I would be drowning. But I think it's important to note here that, like, John's a mythicist, but also I think that you guys could theoretically, like, have this conversation outside of the bounds of that. Like, would you be willing to do that, or do you feel that that's a bridge too far?
No.
Okay.
That's like talking to a flat earther or something.
Oh,
fuck yourself.
I'm sorry.
No, seriously. Whatever chair you have right now, turn it upside down and just fuck yourself, okay?
JP, I'm gonna have to let you go, my friend. I'm sorry, but right. I'm trying to build a bridge, and you're burning it down. So I gotta do what I gotta do. I tried, Sean. I tried. I wanted to make that conversation happen.
No, I know. And I mean, I was totally willing. Like, even I get it. He doesn't like my one of my positions that a lot of people don't like me for. That's perfectly fine. I feel like I was trying to build a bridge by being like, look, for the purpose of this, I'm more than willing to set that aside and be like, sure, Jesus was an itinerant preacher. kind of thing. Like a lot of people want to portray either me or mythicist as being so helplessly like focused on the position, but I'm really not. Right? Like I'm just simply not. Like for the purposes of most conversations, I'm like, sure, Jesus was an itinerant preacher. Can we actually like discuss whether or not he supports LGBTQ people, or considering the landscape of Jewish and Jewish Christian communities in the first century, at least what we know about them, would he have appreciated LGBTQ individuals? I mean, I feel like even people that disagree with me on the whole mythicist thing would be like, well, I mean, he makes some pretty solid points about, Jewish Christians in the first century.
My entire thing is that it's like I'm not a mythicist, but at the same time, like that doesn't mean that you and I can't agree on the vast majority of things and also have conversations about other things. Like I'm just not really a big fan of being like, oh, we disagree on this one thing, so we can't talk about anything at all. Like, I mean, do you have any idea the restraint that it took with Annie to not have an entirely creationism conversation? Like, she's a 10,000-year-old young Earth creationist. I want nothing more than to talk about that, but that's not what she called about. So, I'm not trying to make that case. She's not trying to make that case. So we're both in agreement on that, and we can kind of move forward. I wish that had been the case with JP, because I think that by and large, she seems like a great person and the kind of type that's going to be tolerant and chill. I wish that conversation could have happened outside. I'm just like homing in on the mythicism stuff and not letting that one go. I wish that could have been possible, but no, I do not think that it was going to happen. So.
Well, heathens, that's going to be it for this call today. If you want more of this kind of content, you can hit up the links down in the description to go and subscribe to The Line here on YouTube. We're always producing great live content where we take callers from people. We're also adding new shows all the time. So please go down there, subscribe to The Line so that you can get more of this kind of content. I'm not sure if this was 20 seconds or anything like that, but yada, yada, yada. Jimmy, go fuck yourself.